All right, the guest is Dr. Michael Schwartz, research doctor who owns medical clinics in New Jersey and Florida. He's the best-selling author of Fauci's Fiction, the book on COVID, and Vaccine Fiction. The truth leaks out in small doses. Dr. Michael Schwartz, welcome back to the show.
How you doing, my friend?
Me. Okay, good. I'm doing great. Welcome back to the show. Today was a big day, Fauci testifying, and I must say, I'm sure it's happened before, but I'm not aware of it. Other than the mafia, other than organized crime, mafia gangsters, I've never seen anyone take the fifth 111 times. So that says all you need to say right there.
Well, I mean, the guy's never met a camera he didn't like until today. And that's kind of I shouldn't say it's a funny thing, but reading through those diaries, and, we were always wondering, is it money? What is it? What is the motive? It was fame. It was vanity the whole time, Wayne. Hanging out with Julia Roberts, hanging out with Joan Baez, Barbara Streisand. And now, of course, he wants to get quiet. In civil law, you can construe that taking the fifth, that the jury's allowed to construe that there might be some guilt from that. But in criminal law, you can't. I don't know what the public makes of today's hearings. Of course, you kind of see the diversity, the dichotomy on both sides. People on the left want to defend him. Our side wants to come at him. But I like the fact, at least, that Rand Paul, Josh Hawley, and all these folks use this as a platform to maybe let people know that there's stuff there that you haven't heard all these years.
Yeah, and I've been on this case for a long time. I mean, I consider it mass murder and crimes against humanity long before I knew that he's the one that was the architect and some would say the father of COVID. He brought it here. I believe he brought it here not to mass murder people, but to steal the 2020 election in cahoots with China, the Chinese Communist Party, and the Democrat Party. And I've said that for a long time. But I don't think anyone intended to mass murder people. I think they only intended to steal the election. And then the side effect was a lot of people died, but they were trying to make a lot of money and they were trying to steal an election. He was trying to get fame, too, as you just very well pointed out. He's a fame whore. I've told the people yesterday that if I were doing my best Fauci impression, it would be me standing in front of a mirror and I'd be going, 20,000 people died of COVID today, but I was on CNN. This guy's sick in the head. He's a monster. But I have said for months and months and months now, you can't indict him if he has a pardon on the federal level, maybe, assuming you can't break the auto pen. And you can't break the idea that no one should get a blanket pardon if they haven't been accused of anything yet. But if you can't break it and he really does have a pardon, then state attorney generals, like 20 of them, should all sue him at the same time. Ruin his life. And today, that was the first time I heard Congresswoman Paulina Luna say the same thing. State attorney generals have to indict him. And the Florida attorney general announced he's investigating Fauci right now. So the dam is breaking.
And if that's what we get out of the hearings, and that's great. And I heard you saying that earlier, and I think that's fantastic. I mean, I'm watching these hearings today. I didn't expect much out of him. What I'm getting out of the diaries, though, is that he knew a lot of what I knew. And I said that for the longest time, Wayne. I'm going, if I have this data, I was the first guy in New Jersey, as you know, to do COVID testing. We did 44,000 tests, 19,000 patients. A month in, I'm realizing the mortality rate of this thing is going to be 0.01 to 0.02%, that of the flu. And we're all sitting around my office wondering, how does this guy not know that? Turns out he did. But they neglected to tell you that because they wanted to keep this charade going. And whether or not COVID was released, I said to an audience today, I said, you know what, Wayne, I don't know if these guys are smart enough to do that. But the old page from Saul Alinsky's book, Never Let a Crisis Go to Waste, they sure as shit did that. That is exactly what they did. They took this crisis. They wanted to ruin Donald Trump's presidency. He wanted to continue this for fame, and he killed more people along the process than most people even know. That vaccine, that shot, I won't even call it a vaccine because it's not what you say to somebody 70, right, 80, 90s who thinks that it's giving you lifetime inoculation. That shot did more damage to the world and is still doing damage. This man should be in jail. So you wrote a book about these same issues in 2023. You called it Fauci's Fiction. How does everything that you heard in the hearing today, well, you didn't hear much in the hearing, you heard it from the Republican side, but you didn't hear a word from Fauci. But how does everything recently released, including Fauci's supposed diaries, how does that align with what you revealed in your book 3 years ago? So ironically, as people, that know this book, the book's not about Fauci. The book's about the real data. The book's about what we saw, our perspective from testing on the ground and treating for all these years. The book is about the story of our 19,000 patients. And when you understand the data as we did early on, it does not make Fauci look good. The book tells you exactly what you're learning now, that the mortality rate was that of the flu, that we shouldn't have locked down, that masks don't work. We don't wear masks for viruses. And now you got vaccine fiction, which is the follow-up up on the screen. That book tells you the follow-up story. That book, I did a multitude of interviews with people above my pay grade so that we can understand how VAERS works, how the shots were manufactured. I talked to Richard Hirschman, who's an embalmer. He was made famous in the movie Died Suddenly, to talk about what embalmers are seeing post-shot. There's so much to this story. And Fauci, it turns out, knew a lot of what we knew back in 2020. I published this 3 years ago and 2 years ago, respectively, both books. And now this is like new news to people. That is what's shocking to me. I wish people had known what we knew, or I should say, I wish the media and the government would have let you know what we were trying to tell you all those years ago, so we didn't have to go through this exercise.
Well, I can tell you right now, Michael, they're gaming the system. I know they gamed the economy. They lied about jobs. They lied about GDP. They lied about everything you could possibly lie about. They lied about inflation under Joe Biden massively. And now I think they're lying about excess deaths. I know for a fact that excess deaths were the highest in history after the COVID vaccine for several years, 2021, 22, and 23. But they just announced last year was the lowest death rate in history, excess death rate. And I think that's a total lie. They're gaming the system. They gamed the system, by the way, over deaths from the COVID vaccine. They claimed there were no raised deaths from the COVID vaccine. Lies. They claim military didn't have horrible deaths and injuries from the COVID vaccine. Lies. So now they're saying excess deaths were way down, or maybe they say just deaths were very low last year. I can tell you that just in my circle of friends, and yes, I've got more than 99% of the people. I've got 6,000 friends in this phone. 6,000. But I'm telling you, hundreds of them got the vaccine and they're all sick. They're not all dead, but they're all sick and they all blame the vaccine. They all know that the problem started right after they got vaccinated. So to say that last year was the lowest deaths in history, when I look every day, a new Hollywood star dies, and they all have the side effects of the COVID vaccine. They're dying from heart attacks, strokes, turbo cancer, blood clots, etc. Lou Gehrig's disease, a huge marker from this vaccine. Lou Gehrig's disease. So many people have ALS now. It's not possible that the death rate was the lowest in history last year. That has to be a lie. They have to be gaming the numbers.
Well, there's a lot of lies to break down there. I mean, let's start with COVID as itself. You know, they keep pointing to all these numbers and VAERS, but what they don't tell you is that most of the folks who died during COVID were dying with a bacterial co-infection that they weren't looking for. We have that data. We actually have the largest amount of horizontal data in the country because we were the only ones looking at it the way we did. So when you look at a data set comparable to ours, there just isn't any. We looked at CT value, we looked at co-infection, comorbidity, and we recorded symptomology. So we actually have much better numbers about deaths during COVID or illness during COVID than anybody else. But when it comes to the shots, what we saw, Wayne, right off the bat, we saw that it inflamed areas of instability. If you had a joint issue that was going to happen at 40, now it was exhibiting itself at 20. If you had a heart issue that would exhibit itself at, 70, genetically, now it was coming out at 40 or 50. That's what we saw. We saw these mRNA shots speed up areas of instability, which might explain what you were talking about, because you're right. The deaths are underreported. And when you look at VAERS, which is what they report, what they look at, government numbers, only less than 1% of what's out there makes it into VAERS, and Harvard agrees with me.
Harvard's study proved that it's 1%. So VAERS shows, I think, something like 40,000 deaths from the COVID vaccine. Multiply 40,000 deaths times 100, and you get 400,000 deaths.
Well, you get 4 million. And
my math's wrong. 4 million. Okay, got it. 4 million, right? Yeah, 10 would be 400,000. 100 would be 4 million, and so the numbers are staggering. But let's make believe that's not true. Let's make believe it's the only time it wasn't only 1% reported. Let's say there are only 40,000 deaths from the COVID vaccine.
Right.
When we had the swine flu in the 1970s, I think it was 77.
Right.
I believe
deaths,
like 25 people died, and they canceled the whole vaccine program. Yeah. How could a doctor allow 40,000 people to die and not cancel the vaccine program?
They whitewash everything. And I had an epidemiologist on my show, Nick Holscher, who is part of the McCullough Foundation. He was saying those numbers might be a little skewed. It's probably more like 600,000. But then even if it is, think about that. 600,000, that's in the U.S. alone. Worldwide, we're talking about more like 15 million.
Yes,
only
I saw
15 million.
I saw experts who are analysts and great with math. They said 17 million have died worldwide from the COVID vaccine. And I would say that's right in the ballpark.
Yeah, it's about what we're analyzing and with our numbers. But I mean, and look, you're right. I mean, if it's 2 deaths or 25 deaths, they'll shut down an entire program. Here we have even a reported 40, 50,000, and they say, it's a drop in the bucket because of the lives it saved. Let me tell you something, and I think I've said this before on your show. We didn't recommend the shots for 2 distinct reasons when they came out. This is before you saw the issues from it. 1, you didn't need it. I told this to Ron Johnson on the Hill. And 2, it didn't work. So why in good conscience would I or anybody else in my orbit recommend something that you don't need and doesn't work because I'm going to give you this experimental treatment? Then all of a sudden we experiment with it and find out there's a multitude of problems, but we want to cover that up because we want to hang out with Barbara Streisand? I mean, are you kidding me?
Well, and don't forget, with his diaries, what we found out is he had one of those side effects. It was Dr. Fauci who got vaccinated and then got a blood clot in his lung. What is it called? A pulmonary embolism, whatever the word is. And I believe the same thing is true of Lindsey Graham, by the way, just had his funeral just yesterday. Lindsey Graham, I'm telling you, I know he was 71. And I know his father died of heart problems. And so now he's 70 and he's got heart problems. He drops dead. And everyone says, oh, Wayne, it's not the vaccine. He's 70. He was traveling. His father died of the same thing. I'm not denying any of that. It's what you said. It speeds up. Maybe he was going to die at 80, but he died at 71 because he took the vaccine. He bragged about it on TV. He took it on TV. There's a video of him getting the shot, and now he's dead. And I had Dr. McCullough on my show, and he said, absolutely, aortic dissection is one of the side effects of the COVID vaccine. So it could very well be the reason he had it, or it could very well be the reason he was going to get it anyway, but it sped it up.
I said in my first book, and I'll try to put this in perspective, that this probably shortened the lifespan of the entire human populace by 3 to 5 years, and that's a conservative estimate. If you want to go more liberal, maybe 7 to 9 years, because now people are living with things they didn't have before. And one of the chapters in Vaccine Fiction, we interview a lot of nurses, and we talk about what the nurses are seeing now. What's the commonality? What's the thematic approach here? Because that's what you do when you do a study. You want to know the theme. And they're all saying the same thing. We're seeing things we've never seen before. You mentioned some of the turbo cancer. If you use that word, well, I don't like to use that word, Wayne, because it gets censored on all the shows. If I try to repost this later, you know how Facebook is. So, but what we see is we see an abundance of these cancers that have never been seen before. Now you have stories of 26-year-olds going to the hospital for routine testing, finding out something else is wrong and never leaving because they're in stage 4 cancer. It's younger people, it's rare cancers, and it's abundance of that stuff that just didn't exist before the shots.
And don't forget, I read the Daily Mail every day, and it's very hysterical, and it's liberal-leaning, but it's also got some good articles. And it seems like and I know we got to wrap up because you're the one who has to go, but otherwise I'd keep you for the whole rest of the show. But every single day, Michael, there's a new story about a new disease that young people have that they've never had before, and they blame everything in the world except the COVID vaccine. I think it was today or yesterday, there was a big article, never have doctors seen so many people with Parkinson's disease, and they blame everything except the vaccine. Parkinson's is another offshoot of the COVID vaccine.
Yeah.
It causes neurological damage.
Isn't it amazing how they want to gaslight that? For so many years, they used to talk about our side gaslighting. Meanwhile, it's them. It's them trying to say, don't look over here, nothing to see here. It can't be that. The data is so stark, and the data was stark from day one. It didn't take us very long to figure this out. And while we were trying to tell folks, we were getting censored from all the mainstream media, from the government. You go back to Jim Jordan uncovering all those emails from the White House asking Amazon. My books were censored. What we have written in here.
Do you know bad I was censored? Do you have any idea how bad? Oh, my God.
We're on the same team. And, and it's all of us, Wayne. I mean, if we had just been allowed to speak, but the government was doing it. That First Amendment is there to protect us from government intruding on our First Amendment rights. And it turns out they were doing the same thing by telling Amazon not to let us talk, or Facebook not to let this information out. We could have avoided all of this, the lockdowns, the kids not learning, you name it, the masking. All of this could have been avoided in 1 month of testing and treating. We had the data to tell you that this was a farce.
And I thought the two worst crimes, then I'll let you go, the two single biggest markers in all this are, number one, they wanted the kids to be vaccinated when they knew not one child in the United States ever died of COVID unless they had childhood leukemia. Not one child ever died. No one needed the vaccine. And ivermectin. They knew it worked, but if they allowed it to go through, it's cheap, it doesn't make anyone big money, and they would have never gotten the emergency authorization for the vaccines that made them hundreds of billions of dollars. How many people died because they were not able to take ivermectin because they poisoned it? They said it's for cows and horses and pigs, and they scared people away from it. How many people got sick, could have taken it, could have gone right away, and instead it got worse. They went in the hospital, they gave them remdesivir, and they died. How many people you think died because that alone?
I mean, we were treating it wrong in the beginning. We didn't know. Flu protocol flared it up. There's a lot there to unpack. We would need another full hour. But doctors always should have a right to try. And you shouldn't have these people in the government, especially. Government and politics should never mix. Government or politics and medicine should never mix.
Yeah.
That my wife says that all the time. She's a nurse practitioner. I've been saying it for the last 6 years. And that's what we saw destroy this country.
All right, Michael Schwartz, Dr. Michael Schwartz, research doctor, owns medical clinics in New Jersey and Florida, best-selling author of Fauci's Fiction, the book on COVID, and Vaccine Fiction, The Truth Leaks Out in Small Doses. Boy, do you and I look good today after the organized crime mafia figure, Dr. Fauci, the new Gambino of 2026, took the fifth 111 times. How disgusting, how disgraceful. Dr. Schwartz, thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you, Wayne. I hope to see you soon.
God bless. All right, we'll be right back right here on War Zone Live.